Good evening! It's Friday night! Yay! So, everyone wanted different things when it came to Espresso Martini time. Some people wanted to do it tonight, some people wanted to do it tomorrow night, so I thought what we'd do is we would compromise and do both. So tonight, what I'm going to do is make a fairly ordinary, standard issue Espresso Martini, and then tomorrow night I'll jazz it up a little bit and do something different. But for now, let us crack on with a spot of Espresso Martini. Yo. Right. First things first, I want to make some espresso. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the history of the Espresso Martini and what I'm going to do with it. And also, what I'd like to do is have a couple of shots for a couple of very special people. So please, get yourself a shot glass. If you're watching me on catch up, this is your time to pause it and go fetch a shot glass. So, first things first, espresso. Now, the IBA, the International Bartenders Association, defines the espresso you're going to use for your Espresso Martini as being a very short, strong shot. I would call that a ristretto. And that happens to be how I like to do my coffee. Now, I've already prepared one shot because this is Blue Peter after all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the second shot now and walk you through what I'm going to do. Hopefully this will work because it's quite hard to do with both hands. First things first, you need a nice, clean, shiny basket. For those of you who don't have an actual espresso machine in your kitchen, Nespresso is fine. Something like a mocha pot will do. Something like a cold brew will do. That's what I'm going to use tomorrow. But for those of you in an espresso machine, nice, clean, shiny basket. No coffee stains at all. Into your espresso grinder. Ooh, haven't seen that before. Right. In my espresso grinder, this is a Mazza Super Jolly. It makes me super jolly when I use it. I'm using a good espresso blend from a good local roaster. This is nothing outrageously jazzy, it's just a pretty decent blend. I'm also using a set of scales. By the way, sorry to break the mystique. Yes, I do have the shirt, but I am wearing my pyjama bottoms and my slippers. So, onto the scales. Zero it off. We're going to try and get about 20-ish grams of coffee in here using the preset double button. Now, as that's grinding, I'm just rotating it around slightly to try and fill my basket nice and evenly with ground coffee. We see? So, onto the scale. Oopsie. 20.6, perfect, right. How am I going to do this? Let's spin that round and prop it up. Sort of there-ish. Is that working? Yeah, perfect. So, next, I am going to just cleanse that little bit of overspill off there, and then a highly technical process of distribution. You can get very carried away with this, but this is just how I do it. Now, this also would work terribly in competition. I bash the side of it until the top of my bed of coffee is kind of flat. This is very inconsistent, so it's very hard to get it consistent. Then I do finger sweeps. So using the back of my finger, I will just smooth out into all of the corners to make sure that there is coffee evenly distributed. And this is usually the point at which I will clean my lugs, my top, and my feet. And I'll pop it back on the top there. Two reasons. One, to show you what the weight is, and two, so you can see how nice, neat and tidy it is. Not the Rona. I've just been for a walk with the dog. So I like to use a Pullman chisel. This is a distribution tool with a wedge shape that smooths this out and sub-tamps. So I'm just going to stick that on the top here. Give it a quick wiggle around like so. Ooh, and that's an interesting little problem for me to solve. There we go. So what you'll now see, it is nice and flat and smooth but untamped. Next, I will use my push tamp. Got this coming third in Coffee and Good Spirits one year. Scott Lambert, you beat me that year. Bad times. So that now sits on top the same, more or less. and we just have a very gentle squeeze. And again, a little spin. And then off. And so what you have now is a nice, evenly tamped, perfectly flat bed. It is nigh on idiot proof, which is useful because I am an idiot. So, as you can see, I've clearly thought this through extremely well. We're going to do a pre-flush on our coffee machine, just to rinse out the water, make sure there's nothing sat in there that shouldn't be there. I'm going to put my jug back on my scales and tear that. And then we're going to clip in, like so. Insert an immediate brew. And then let's just drop that into there like so. Now I'm looking for about a 30-second extraction, maybe 35. And I'd love it if it both came out the same sides simultaneously, more or less. Now you can see that is a really skinny rat's tail through that. It's dripping, it's pushing through, it's really struggling. It's highly restricted in its flow. That is a ristretto. I'm going to let this run to about 33, I think, and then I'm going to kill it. 1, 2, 3, off. And then let's just weigh that out and see how much coffee we got out of there. Look at that, 25 grams, 34 seconds. That is a tight ristretto. Now, very important, always knock out immediately after brewing, unless you're in a competition, in which case it doesn't really matter. Give your thing another flush, just to clear out any last bits of gunk. And because I can't handle not doing, give your basket a clean as well. Because if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? Come on. And then leave that clipped back in your machine so that it is warm and ready to brew your next shot. Perfect. Right, back to coffee cocktails. I'm just going to put that on one side for a moment, just to cool down, so that it's done and out of the way. So, I said I'm going to do some shots this afternoon, and I think that's only fair. I am using Mr. Black as my weapon of choice for coffee liqueurs. And what I want to do, first and foremost, is get the lid off it, because it's been a while. There we go. The first person I feel we should raise a glass to is Martin Hudak, who is the global brand ambassador for Mr. Black's, good friend of mine, 2017 World Coffee and Good Spirits champion. So, Martin Hudak, cheers. Very good. Right, before I get stuck into too many of those, let's have a talk about Espresso Martinis. There's quite a famous legend around the makeup of the Espresso Martini. It's based on the Soho Brasserie in the 1980s. There's a famous bartender called Dick Bradsell, who was working at the Soho Brasserie at the point, and he had a regular customer, a local supermodel, who used to pop in every now and again, and Dick had recently had an espresso machine installed at the corner of the bar. The other bartenders were kind of scruffy, weren't keeping it very clean. It was kind of annoying Dick. So what Dick decided to do, this supermodel came in one night and said, Dick, I need you to make me a drink. I want something that's going to wake me up and, my auntie's watching, mess me up. And so Dick took some vodka, took some sugar syrup and an espresso, mixed it all together, shook it up, and it became the vodka espresso. This was a huge hit. Martinis were all the rage, vodka was the spirit of choice for the 80s, and all of the city boy bankers were loving it. It was great. I actually spent a little bit of time hanging out with Marco Arijo a couple of years ago, who is the progenitor of Illy Coffee in the UK. And he worked with Dick at the time, and he actually helped Dick work out his station management and get everything sorted so that he could make vodka espressos, espresso martinis in bulk. And he showed me a very special piece of equipment. It was a portafilter handle, a bit like this, but deeper, much deeper. And instead of having two spouts, it had one long spout. And what Marco told me is that what Dick used to do is he used to brew ristrettos into this long spout and then into a bottle on the side. So he would always have a bottle of espresso in his speed rail ready to go. And I was lucky enough to be in Marco's office a couple of years ago, and I saw Dick's handle. I was there, I touched Dick's handle, I managed to get my hands round it, I got really good double-handed on it. I saw Dick's handle and I touched it. And I'm one of the very few people who's had the privilege of touching Dick's handle. So I think it's only fair. Our second shot of the evening should be to celebrate the great late Dick Bradsell for all of his achievements, and also Marco Arijo. So, to Marco and to Dick. Lovely. So, let's start building a drink before I get too sozzled to do it. What I recommend we do is we build in the small half of our shaker. I'll ice the big half of our shaker, and then we'll throw it together and see how it works. I should warn you, I'm not a professional cocktail maker. I just have a bit of a chance of winging it. I have forgotten one little important thing though. My measure. Bear with me. So, I'm going to be doing 2 drinks at once. One for me, one for Tut Wife. I'm using Grey Goose vodka, and I'm fairly sure this is the bottle that doesn't have goose fat in it. We're going to go for a double measure of this. For each drink, so 2 double measures for 2 drinks. That's the wrong lid. Coffee liqueur became a very important part of Espresso Martinis as time went by. So it's usual to put something like a Kahlua or a Tia Maria or something like that in it. As I've said, Mr. Black is the coffee liqueur to be using. And actually, whilst original Mr. Black is excellent, cannot fault it, and you really should be using it, there is a little secret weapon. Mr. Black Amaro. Amaro is an Italian bitter liqueur. And what this does, this is magic, absolutely magic. It's got loads and loads of botanicals in it, and it is complex and it is interesting. It brings a little bit of sweetness, the same as your coffee liqueur should do. It brings a little bit of coffee, as your coffee liqueur should do, but it also brings mad complexity. So, whenever you are thinking about using a coffee liqueur in anything, use Mr. Black Amaro, because it will be better than anything else you could possibly use for the same usage. Also been a while. It says 10 centilitres for this, for each drink, which would be 25 centilitres, 20 centilitres for the whole thing. I'm going to use a little bit more than that. I'm going to go for 35. And that's because it is so bloody good. Mr. Black Amaro. Good stuff. Sugar syrup. I'm using supermarket bought cane syrup. This is effectively just like the simple syrup we made last week, but with white sugar. And I bought it from the supermarket because I can't be bothered to make it because it's so basic. This is super duper sweet, so I don't want to put too much in. I'm just going to use about 25 ml. And I say about because I can't be bothered to clear up the mess if I turn this the other way around and make it exact. So there we have 25 ml of sugar syrup, 35 ml of Mr. Black Amaro, and 100 ml of vodka. To that we are adding the 2 ristrettos. So, whatever you got, I don't know. A lot of people struggle with the foam on top of an espresso martini, and I understand why. One of the reasons is that if you're not using very fresh coffee, or coffee with lots of Robusta in it, or espresso, in fact, it's really hard to get the foam to come. So if you can't get the foam, it doesn't really matter. The important thing is that you're having fun and enjoying your drink. So just before I mix this, ice it, and do all the rest of it, what I want to do is just have my final shot. And this is to one of my favourite rivals. So for 6 years now, I've been competing against this person. I first came across their work when I judged Coffee and Good Spirits Championship in 2013, and the guy came second by 1 point, despite being the defending champion at that point. That was a bit of a shock. Then I competed against him in 2014, and I was lucky enough to win. Neither of us competed in 2015. Oh no, I did compete in 2015, but I lost badly because everything went wrong. 2016, we competed against each other. I was lucky enough to win. And then the guy went absolutely nuclear, and I have not stood a chance ever since. The man is on top of the world. arguably the greatest barista the world has ever seen, arguably the greatest coffee mixologist the world has ever seen. He's celebrating the birth of his son at the moment, despite being in a lockdown, not being able to get the family to see him, but I understand baby and mother are all doing well. And so what I want to do is have one final shot, and please do join me in this, whether you are partaking or not, and just celebrate and say thank you and congratulations to Dan Fellows, who is the greatest coffee bartender of all time. And I consider this to be me doing his paternity leave cover. So, to Dan, cheers. Right, serious business now. I have been storing my ice in this weird brandy glass. I'm just going to tip off anything that might be excessive in that I don't really want, because what I don't really want is a load of water in this. Fortunately, that hasn't melted much at all. Ooh, there's more than that than I expected. So I like to use a tin-on-tin shaker. I filled that about 2/3 full at this point. And where this is going to go horribly badly wrong is I'm going to try and tip what I've mixed in here into the ice, and then it's going to get messy. Wish me luck. Ooh, got away with it. Okay. And now it's the fun bit. We all have to shake. Is everybody ready? Shall we shake? That was a little bit excessive on the shaking, but it's theatrical, it's magical, it's wonderful. I've been icing my martini glasses. This is so that they are nice and cold and ready to receive my delicious finished martini. Separating the tins is always interesting. Ooh, smells good. And just have a look at that foam, can you see? So, I said the other day I wasn't very good at wash lines. Let's see if I've got any better. Wash lines. So, mysterious shimmy, eye contact, sexy eye contact. Now you could double strain this if you wanted to. What that would do is it would take the big chunks of ice out of this, but I like a bit of crunch in my martini, so I'm sticking with it. Right, how's that? Yeah, I'll have that, that's all right. Now, the traditional garnish for your espresso martini is 3 coffee beans. But that would mean 6 coffee beans not getting used to make coffee, which I'm not going to risk, to be fair. So, sorry lads, you'll have to do without. Anyway, I hope you've had a lovely evening. I hope you've had a chance to make your own espresso martinis. I'll be back tomorrow, where I'll be putting some weird stuff in espresso martinis to make them taste weird and interesting. So thank you very much for joining me. Oh! Boy, you can make a martini. Ooh, nice. Anyway, hope you've had a lovely evening. I hope you're washing your hands. I hope you're staying safe, and hope you're staying healthy. I don't think there's anything else to say, is there? Is there? Everything is awesome!